Hey everyone, it's Jordan Ray here again with another Google Apps Script video. Today I'm going to be taking a Google form, those kind of static Google forms where you make some choices and you can use multiple choice to submit to the form. But we want to actually change that boring static form into something that makes a little more dynamic sense so that if we use our multiple choice field to add something new. Um, we can submit that, and it will actually add that to one of the choices in our multiple choice form. It's going to filter out everything that is unique, so you'll see we've got multiple entries in here. However, they don't show up as multiple entries here. So if this interests you, it's actually from an idea that I got from the subreddit that I created, Teachers Can Code. Um, I didn't quite, I left a couple of comments on there because I didn't quite understand the project, but I thought this was an interesting idea that came from that. So if that interests you at all, check out the Teachers Can Code subreddit. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I've got a real basic form here, really boring. Let's bring it to life. I'm going to actually create the spreadsheet right from uh, inside the form itself. You can just click on it, tell it to create a new sheet, and it kind of does all of the hard work for you. And you see you got a column for the student name and then a column for the comments that we're going to be entering. Now let's open up the script editor from Tools, Script Editor, and we'll go ahead and give our project a name. I'm just going to call it Response Form. And I'm going to rename the function to be onSubmit because that's what I want to happen when the form is submitted. I want to run this function. Now we're going to have to install this trigger in order to get access to all the things, but we'll do that once we have everything written out. First, we need to get a reference to our sheet object, and we'll do that with creating a variable sheet, spreadsheet app.get active spreadsheet. Actually, I'll just do get active sheet. You can also, get the sheet by name, get it by ID. There's a couple different ways, but I'll just call it get active sheet. And then I need to get a reference to the form that we're going to be modifying. And we use the form app for that, but I need to open by URL. And we're going to use the sheet, and we're going to get form URL. So we'll pass that in as a variable. And now we've got a reference to our sheet and to our form. Now we need to actually get the values that are going to be in here. We want to actually get all of the comments that are in here. We want to take all the unique comments, and then we want to set them as the values as the choices in this multiple choice option, so that you can multiple choice one of those choices, or you can add a new one, and then that will show up in following comments. If you don't quite understand what I mean, stick around, you'll see. So let's create a values variable, and I'm going to use some this kind of dot. I guess it's called dot syntax to access the methods for these various objects. So we need to get the range, and we're going to put in 3 parameters. We want to get row 2, column 3, and then we want to go all the way to the last row, sheet.get last row, and we're actually going to subtract 1 from it because it is actually going to, so get last row will actually respond with a blank value at the very last row. So we need to just subtract 1. Then we're going to actually get values, and that's going to give us this multi-dimensional array. Then we are going to actually map over all the values, and I'm going to use this map function. And what that does is it hits every single value, every single element in the array, and then it's going to kind of do something and then return. And what that something we want done is we want to take all those values and then turn them into strings, because it's actually grabbing all of these cells as arrays themselves, but we don't want that. We need to be able to access them as strings. So we're just going to run this on there. And then we're going to filter out everything that is not unique. We just want one version of everything. So if you put in multiple comments, it doesn't show up multiple times in your list of choices. You're only going to see everything once. So we're going to function, both filter and map take in functions. And you'll see with map, I just passed in value because it's taking each value. We could actually even just call this element because it's going to be each element in the array. Maybe that makes a little bit more sense. So I'm going to do it that way. Variable names can be a very personal thing. I personally just choose to create variable names based on what makes the most sense to me, so that I can remember what I'm doing here. So we're then going to filter out every element. It also has a parameter of the position in the array where you are, and then you can actually get access to the array, the total array itself. So then we just want to, it returns either true or false, and if it's true, we're gonna basically keep this element, and if it's false, we're gonna discard it, and that will be caught in our filter, right? So we want to return index of, and we're going to pass in elements, and if that is equal to the current position. Basically, if you don't understand index of, what it does is it looks inside the array that we have here, and it looks to see if the current element is inside this index, then it returns the index. If it is not inside this array, it's going to return -1. But what we're saying is we're going to just absolutely check against the current position. If that's what it is, if it's equal to this index of, what's returned from this index of, we're keeping it. If not, we're going to throw it away, because that means it's not unique to the current, to our list of choices, right? It's not a unique choice. And so there we've got our array of values that we want to put into our function. Now we need to actually get the item in the form to place these choices. So we're going to get all items. We could just select it, because we know because we have access to it here, but I want to do an example of how you could do this programmatically. So we're going to get items, and we only want to get the items that are multiple choice, and then we want to filter those. We want to filter those items, and we're going to pass in just one parameter this time, and I don't want semicolon there. I want to filter each item if the item.getTitle is the same as, and what did I call it here? If it's comments. Now you could do any number of things. Take a look at the API documentation to see some of the other methods you can use to filter your items. But we know the title of it. We're just going to say comments, and that will give us an array with the very first thing in that array, the item that we want, and we want to get it as multiple choice item. And now we can use that item to set choice values, and we're just going to pass in the values that we created up here with this long creation. Now we're just going to pass that in right here. Now if I save this and I go into my current project triggers, there's no triggers set up so far. We're going to create on submit. We want it to be from the spreadsheet and on form submit, save. And we've got to tell it, yes, you can access our Google Sheets. Yes, you can access our Google Forms. That is totally acceptable. I do allow it, Google. I allow my code to run on my documents. And that should be all we need to do. I'm going to test it by just going into preview here. And you'll see, I'm just going to choose Steve. I'm going to create, did a great job on the court today. When I hit submit, you'll see that the form submission shows up in our sheet. And if we look at our form itself, you'll see this first option changed to did a great job on the court today. Now let's submit another response. I'm going to submit another response for James, and I'm going to use the same comment. Click submit. So for James, did a great job on the court today. Perfect. But you'll see in the form I still only have one option here because it filtered out those duplicate things. So I can still see all of my responses here. However, it's only going to give me that single option. Now if I submit another response and say, Marianne, I want a new thing. Very pleased with her effort. I can click submit. And again, you'll see submission worked perfectly, but it also appeared in the form. So that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted this kind of dynamic, these dynamic multiple choices to kind of really give our form a little bit more life, make it a little bit more usable, a little less static. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Help me grow this channel and get more activity. And please check me out on Reddit, and you can submit some of your own ideas. And I'm also on Patreon, should you have an extra $1 to spare. Anyways, cheers everybody. I will talk to you soon.